Hello and welcome back to Chess Problem Challenge. Today's topic is checkmate by using double check. Here is problem number 61. In this position, we have the white king on g1, we have the bishop on d4, we have the white rook on f6, and for black, we have the king on h8 and the black pawn on h7. Please pause now and find the right answer. Okay, let's take a look. What is double check? Double check is when we make a move and both pieces will attack the black king. The only way to achieve that in this position is to move the white rook all the way up to f8, and now the rook is attacking king. But not only the rook, because the rook moved away from the f6 square, the bishop on d4 is also attacking the black king. This is called double check, and because the king is stuck, this is also checkmate. Let's move on to the next problem, number 62. In this position, we have the white king on g1, we have the rook on h3, we have the bishop on h4, and for black we have the black king on h8 and the bishop on g8. Please think now and find the right answer. Okay, let's take a look. The black king can go to g7 or h7, so we have to make a really strong move to make sure it's checkmate. Now, the bishop is in front of the rook, so if we move the bishop to f6, the bishop would be attacking the king, but so will the rook. This is double check, and because the king cannot go anywhere, this is also checkmate. Let's move on to problem 63. In this position, we have the white king on g1, we have the queen on a5, we have the bishop on g2, we have the pawn on a6, and for black, we have the black king on a8, we have the queen on b8, and the pawn is on b7. Please pause now and find the right move. Okay, let's take a look. Now, there's two ways to attack the king in this position. We could either take the pawn with our bishop, but that will not be checkmate because the king will just move down. Or there's a stronger move by taking the black pawn with our pawn. The pawn is now attacking the king, but so is the queen. So two attacks on the king is helpless, and it's checkmate. Now for problem 64. In this position, we have the king on g1, the rook on f6, the bishop on d4, and the pawn on h5. While for black, the black king is on g7, the black rook on h8, the knight on g8, the bishop on f8, and pawns are on f7, g6, and h7. Please pause now and find the winning move. Okay, let's take a look. The king can only go to one square, and that's h6, because he cannot go up because of his own pieces, and he cannot go side to side because of the black pawns. So this rook can move away and capture the black pawn on g6. It looks like the white pawns can capture the rook. The black pawns cannot capture the rook though, because the white bishop on d4 is also attacking the king on g7. The black king cannot capture a rook because of the white pawn on h5. The king is stuck, and this is checkmate. Let's move on to problem 65. In this position, we have the white king on g1, the bishop on c2, the knight is on e4. For black, we have the king on h7, the rook on h8, and the pawns are on g7 and h6. Please think now and find checkmate in one move. Okay, let's take a look. The black king can really only go on two squares. He can go to g8, or he could go to g6. That's why our move has to cover both of those squares and attack the black king. Now, how can we attack the black king? The white knight can go to g5, or he can go to f6. Let's check the g5 square first. This is a double check as well, because the bishop is attacking the king and the knight is attacking the king. That's why the black pawn on h6 cannot eat us. But in this variation, black king can just escape to g8, and there is no checkmate. Now, if the white knight goes to f6, again, the pawn g7 on g7 cannot eat our knight on f6, because the bishop on c2 is attacking the black king. But this time, the black king cannot escape anywhere, because the knight on f6 blocks the g8 square. Let's move on to problem 66. In this position, we have the king on h1, we have the queen on g2, we have the rook on g7, we have the bishop on f6, and for black, we have the black king on h8, we have the rook on f8, and the black pawn on h7. Please pause now and find the best move. Okay, let's take a look. So, there's two ways to do double check here. We could either eat the pawn, but then the black king will just eat our rook, which will not be a checkmate, but just a loss of a rook. The other way is to push the rook up. This way, the bishop is attacking the king, and the rook is attacking the king. And that's why this is checkmate, because the king cannot eat our rook because the queen is on g2, and the rook cannot eat the bishop because the rook is also attacking the king. So this is checkmate. Thank you for watching. See you soon. Bye.